Colorado's Department of Public Health and Environment is now investigating a home health care company that paid a man and his girlfriend to take care of the man's mother. The investigation started after the couple was charged in the woman's death.
We want to warn you, some of the details of this story can be very hard to hear. The woman's son spoke to 9 News reporter Steve Steger from the Jefferson County Jail. Steve?
And Jenny, Brian Seitz says his 58-year-old mother had severe rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. She couldn't move. She was blind. He'd cared for her for about 8 years, getting paid from a home health care company for some of that time. And earlier this week, first responders found her on an air mattress in the garage of an Airbnb with maggots on her body, covered in her own filth.
We were trying to help out my mom, and next thing you know, I'm in jail.
Police would say it's not as simple as Brian Seitz makes it out to be. After all, they only started investigating after first responders were called to an Arvada Airbnb earlier this week and found 58-year-old Cheryl Seitz on an air mattress in the garage, covered in her own filth, her body covered in maggots, her hip broken in 2 places, her wrist nearly dislocated.
How does she end up with maggots all over her body in a garage of an Airbnb?
Well, she had the maggots on her before she got to the Airbnb. That's one of the reasons we went to the Airbnb. We tried to get her help. We did.
Cheryl Seitz was blind and immobile, and police say she lived in an RV on an RV storage lot with heat from only a space heater.
How did she get to live in a trailer with no running water, with no bed?
Ask Adult Protective Services.
But you were a caregiver, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Brian Seitz was his mother's caregiver. He says he and his girlfriend, Laura Prats, each got paid some of his mom's Medicaid money to care for her.
I think it was $2,200 a month, maybe.
Paid by a company called Lark Home Care. State health officials confirmed to me today that Lark Home Care is now being investigated.
I'm sure there are people out there wondering, you're making $2,200 a month.
I don't care about the money.
But you did at the time, right?
No, I didn't. I still didn't care about the money. That's not why I did this. And why didn't I quit? Because my mom didn't want me to. Because my mom knew that my mom wanted me to be there by her side. What else am I supposed to do then? Should I have called 9 News? Should I have called you guys? Because you guys seem like you guys are doing a pretty good job of investigating it right now.
I'm trying to figure out how someone gets to the condition where they're near death in an Airbnb.
She didn't want us to call an ambulance ever again on her. She didn't want to go to the hospital.
You're the caregiver, right?
I'm the caregiver, that's my mom. If she doesn't want me to call an ambulance on her, I'm not going to call an ambulance for her.
So I asked the state today if this is standard practice, a family member getting paid through a home health care company to provide care for their loved one. They told me, yes, that can happen, but the home health care company is responsible for making sure the patient is getting the care they deserve, hence the investigation in this case. I've tried multiple times to reach the owner of Lark Home Care. She hasn't gotten back to me. In the newsroom, Steve Steger, 9 News.
This story is, if it can upset you more than it did yesterday, Steve, it did today, because it seems like so many people failed this woman.
Yeah, you know, it goes back to December where Adult Protective Services got involved. She was in the hospital in December, and the ambulance was taking her back to this RV and refused to drop her off there. Now, a few days later, the Jefferson County Sheriff actually went out there to check out the RV and said that it was in order and that they could drop her off there. But you have a lot of people pointing fingers at different people in this case, including Brian Seitz, who's now charged in her death. And a lot more to try to find out about this home health care company, Ken.
And I appreciate you, Steve, asking him some hard questions.
Yeah.
I think that among the people who needs to answer them, he's on that list.
Yeah, you know, in this case, he was the caregiver and he was getting paid to care for his mother. I tried to press him a bit on that. He did at one point stand up and walk away from that interview. We'll maybe learn a bit more as this case proceeds.
All right. Steve Steger, thank you for doing that job today.